I was on eBay again, which is never a good sign. And I bought this. A Ursa Mini Pro 4.6K. And I paid 350 euros for it. So usually they go for 10 times that, or used maybe 2K, but yeah, I only paid 350 bucks because it's broken. Apparently those things love to break, and Blackmagic does not offer any repairs for those anymore, maybe because it's just not viable, or they want people to buy the new stuff, or they just don't have stock for the sensors, and the sensors apparently love to die, which is what happened to this guy. Though I did read somewhere that flex cables and solder joints sometimes break on those, which means maybe I can fix it. So for 350 euros I thought, yeah, fuck it, worth the risk. Anyway, got this thing. It said it doesn't come with a power supply, but it came with a power supply, so that's good. So I already plugged it in earlier, and everything was working. The menu was working, but just a black picture. Later when I switched it on, it just did nothing. So now it just switches on the backlight of the screen, but otherwise nothing is happening, which technically is a good sign, because if really the sensor is broken like it was advertised, then like the menu would work, maybe it would have some weird flickering, but just that it does nothing means there might be something else wrong with it, not the sensor. So maybe something fixable, who knows, probably not, but it'll be fun taking this apart. Also, what's not working is the side display. This should display stuff, but it doesn't. Yeah. So yeah, it is on. I can hear the fan, but it's not doing anything. Well, yeah, let's see. Let's start taking it apart, see what we got. Hope this works. So I don't even know where to start on this thing. There's screws, and there's more screws, and even more screws. You can see the sensor at the front. Very nice. It has the internal ND filters. If you turn this, it'll switch ND filters, which is really, really cool. And there's no burn marks on the sensor, so I guess that's good. Okay, I guess we can start at the back. I hope I have the right tools, and there's one missing. Ah, great, where did I put? Ah, it's from earlier. Put this back. Big hex, or not hex, the star screws. Nope, never get this right. Well, they didn't spare on the Loctite. Okay, let's see what fun stuff we can see. Okay, I don't want to pull too hard because I don't know which wires connect to what, and I don't want to break anything more than it really is. Okay, well, there's a PCB in there. It's hanging somewhere at the top. Where is it hanging? Okay, something up here. Oh, come on. Why? Okay, I'll leave this part for now. Let's take the side off. Maybe a bit more luck there. Nope. Is it this one? Alright, let's see what's in here. Ooh, look at that. Okay, that connects to the SDI port and 12 volt on the side. With this tiny little, let's see. Is this a plug? Yes, nice. Okay. That's really cool. Those are those flex sandwiched between two circuit boards. So my GoPro overheated yesterday, and I didn't notice. It didn't beep at me. I did nothing. So I'm really sorry about that. But yeah, you didn't miss all too much. I played it on a little bit. I actually looked at it with a thermal camera to see if there's something getting hot. It was just the CPU underneath here. And one thing I noticed, if I unplug the sensor board, which is this one, the camera would let me go into the menu. As soon as I plug it back in, it just does nothing after switching on. I was kind of hoping that it would be something like this wire, which is the connection to the LCD screen or TFT, whatever it is. So there's just something like that going on, but it seems very much that the sensor board keeps the CPU, the software from booting up and doing what it wants to. I mean, I can just plug this back in. It's a bit of a tricky one. I don't want to plug and unplug it too often, but yeah. So I plugged most of the things back in. Let's give it some power. I can show you what it does. It'd be funny if it doesn't start. Ah, there you go. So it shows something. I can go into the menu. I think there's the menu button. There's all the stuff. But obviously black picture because sensor's not even plugged in. Those buttons here do nothing. I'm not sure if they should. I didn't read the manual, so anyway. I should maybe switch it off before I unplug it. Oh well. So yeah, let's get back to tearing it apart. First I'll take off all this stuff again. Let's go. Okay, take all of this out as a piece. I still don't know why this screen doesn't turn on at all. Maybe because the sensor is incorrectly initialized. The software just gets stuck somewhere before it sends stuff to this thing. Or maybe there's more than one problem with this camera. I don't know. So I did read on the internet that many people have the exact same issue with the black screen or the black image, but still going into the menu and this thing not working. So I doubt that it's a problem, that there's like two different problems, because it happens with other people. The likelihood that they have the same two issues, I don't think so. So it must be something that the sensor is not sending back the correct values to the software, which then gets stuck somewhere. I don't know. So yeah. Where should we go from now? We'll take off the audio ports. Maybe that would be a good idea. Is it this one? Okay. There we go. That's main board with CPU and everything. There's a lot of power regulation on here. Wow. That is so cool. I guess this flex, those lines go directly into the CPU. There must be a lot of data flowing over this thing. Wow. Okay, I didn't really need to take out those screws. Oops. Oh well. I mean, I design circuit boards as a profession and used to do fault analysis of things, so that's kind of why I bought this thing, just to take it apart. If I can fix it, it's just an extra, but I have very little hopes that I can do anything without any schematics or spare parts to like localize the problem. But just taking this apart and looking how they built this is just really interesting for me. So that's why I'm doing this. But yeah, lots of power regulation. I really like this. Can I take this off? Oh yeah. Ah, thermal pads. Yuck. Let's put this over here. Okay. I mean, nothing much different than you would see on any other thing with a CPU. Just a big CPU, memory around it, and lots of power regulators. And a slightly bloated cap. Don't know if this should be like that, but... Oh, is this a super cap, maybe? I think it is. Let's see if it has any voltage on it. Guess that would be the battery to keep time or settings. Since I didn't see a tiny battery on here, so I would imagine. Oh yeah, it's a super cap. There's 5 volts on here, so it's keeping a charge to hold the time and settings and all that stuff, I would guess. Most probably time. So since there's power on here and stuff is doing things, I do not want to put metal stuff on here. That would be a terrible idea. Maybe I should discharge the cap very slowly. Just put a resistor across and just dump the energy. But I'll see here. But I'll put it to the side for now. Just make sure nothing shorts on it. Anyway, back to this thing. And there's the sensor board in here, which I want to get out. Oh, I just noticed there's... What is this? They put a Peltier element in here? Oh wow. This thing is actually, what was it, thermal electrically cooled. That is so cool. Wow. Okay, let me just let my GoPro cool down because I'm paranoid now. This next thing will take out the sensor board. Alright, GoPro's cooled down. It's actually amazing how warm it got even after, I think, 15 minutes of recording. I never really had this problem with GoPros because I usually just stick them to the side of my car where there's lots of wind. But it just overheats after half an hour of just sticking on my head. Kind of annoying, so I hope it doesn't do that again. I'll just let it cool down every once in a while. But yeah, anyway, time to take the sensor off. I hope you're not too bored by now. I'm doing my best to make it not too horrible to watch. But stuff like this just takes time. Also need to figure out which screws to take off because there's the variable ND box in here. I don't really want to disassemble that. I hope most of those screws are the same ones, because once I put stuff back together it would suck if like one screw is longer than the other, like old laptops, which was always a pain. But those, they look about the same. Okay, I guess that's the stereo mic for the front. Oh. Come on, plugs, there you go. Having skinny fingers is sometimes really good. Okay, now we have some big screws. Okay, the whole thing comes out. Nice. Where do I put this? I'll put this over here. Oh wow. That is so cool. I easily get excited about stuff like that. I'm sorry. Alright, time to take the sensor stuff apart. Now I guess this will be the interesting bit. I really do wish it would be just a soldering issue on the sensor or something stupid like that. I mean, I would see why Blackmagic wouldn't want to fix that, because it is a pain to take this camera apart. Well, not a pain, it just takes a while. So for someone to sit there an entire day just to rip everything apart and putting everything back together without breaking anything. Oh yeah. Ah, look at that. There really is a pelty element in there. That is really cool. Let us unplug that. How does this plug work? Push inside one. Seems so. There we go. That was easy. Okay. Very nice. It's hanging somewhere. Ah. Ooh, wow. That is so cool. Huh. Let's put a fingerprint on there. No, I'm joking. Yep, that's the sensor module that seems to be breaking. Oh, such a shame. Really like the shims they put in there. Maybe someone would actually sit there and measure everything. Or maybe it's just automated measuring from this. Oh. This ND thing is pretty cool. I like that. I know already there's dust in there, great. But I'm pretty sure once I'm done with this, the sensor will just be full of fingerprints and dust and everything. So yeah. Anyway, let's have a look under the microscope. Alright, I did my best to strap the camera to the back of my microscope, and unfortunately I can only see through the camera display, so I pretty much can't see anything. But I'll still do my best. So Let's have a look at the back side of the sensor board first, because there's quite a lot of stuff there. Yeah, first chip here is a serious chip that most probably is an audio chip, since the microphones, the dual microphones at the front of the camera connect to that. So I'm pretty sure that's that guy. And we have an LM833 audio op amp right here. So just some amplification for the mics and a serious chip. Multimeter's complaining. There we go. Yep, that's audio stuff. Going further around, lots of caps. An MC33 or something like that. Let's see what that was. I have a few data sheets open. Low voltage rail-to-rail operational amplifier. Okay. Just an op amp doing stuff. TPS 74901. TPS usually is Texas Instruments voltage regulators. Let's go around. That's the plug for the Peltier element. Another MC33. Just a normal op amp. There's another one. This chip right here most probably is some kind of memory. Just another low dropout regulator, just like the other ones. We got this guy, Linear Technologies, dual 1.3 amp, 1.2 megahertz boost inverter. So a voltage booster regulator, something which can handle quite a bit of current. So I guess that thing makes the main voltage for the sensor, and the few low dropout regulators just have different voltage, a bit cleaner power. No idea. What else do we have? I think that's all. That's the Cirrus Logic audio thing again. Anyway, one thing I saw everywhere is those tiny little cracks everywhere around the solder joints, and that's just something I don't like to see. I'm not sure if that's just the flux, or if there's actually like hairline cracks in the solder itself. Let's actually see if I can scratch them a little bit. Oh, it's so difficult with not looking through the microscope. So okay. It looks like those cracks are just the flux. Okay. That's good. So yeah, never mind. Okay. Looking right next to it, this is something I usually don't like to see with soldering, where the pins just sit on top of the blob. Usually I would like to see with that the solder blob covers the top of the pins as well, so because you don't really know what's happening underneath. Usually, well, most of the time it's fine. Still, I mean, maybe they just didn't have a really good flux that would just make the solder blob completely cover everything. Usually when you assemble those things, you have this paste, which is tiny little balls of solder in a paste of flux. Put the whole thing in the oven and it melts, and the solder just becomes this nice blob of solder, and it just covers or just pulls itself up onto the pins and everything. And so it's probably fine, but if I see stuff like this, there is a potential of a cold solder underneath. usually when I assemble boards and I see this, I try to design that there's like a larger solder paste pad, or maybe use a different solder. I just don't like seeing this, at least from the electronics that I build, but who knows. Anyway, one thing I also want to look at, okay, those are the pins for this big connector up here. It does have some, it's under some tension from the flex cable, but they are mounted pretty well with those big metal studs, so should be fine. But those solder blobs look alright. They don't pull their way up onto the pin, but you can see they like cover the side, so they definitely suck themselves onto the metal while being soldered in the oven. But yeah, maybe we'll just go on with the soldering iron and just redo all of those pins, and maybe which ones were those? Those look a bit suspicious, especially like the one at the end here. Does the solder really connect properly to the pin underneath? You don't know. I could measure it, but yeah. Right. Let's look at the other side and at the actual sensor. Obviously my GoPro overheated again, so I'm sorry about that. So I'm just gonna do this again. Unfortunately my microscope is not strong enough to actually see the pixels, but we can really see all those tiny little bonding wires inside there. It's just so cool to see. Just the machine that does that must be really interesting. Which is kind of cool that Blackmagic, I think they made this sensor themselves. I think the 4.6K was the first camera that they manufactured the sensors themselves. I'm not sure. I could be wrong, so don't get mad at me if that's wrong. On the side here, let's see if you can kind of see down into like the bottom of the sensor. There's loads and loads of solder points just hidden behind this rubber thing. Maybe there's a cold solder in there as well, who knows. One thing I noticed is that the sensor is soldered around all the way, and the whole cooling system sits on the back of the sensor and presses down onto the sensor. So all the stress or the tension or pressure from the cooling system goes into the solder joints all around the sensor. So the only thing holding the sensor down from being pushed forward by the whole cooling stuff are all those tiny little solder joints. Fortunately, I can't really see into there with the way I got the camera mounted and everything. I would actually have to pull this entire rubber gasket off and see if I can somehow get into there. And I would probably want to resolder all those tiny little connections that go out, just to make very sure that none of those things are broken in any way. So I took this rubber gasket off just to have a better look at all those pins, and already had a look at them, and I found something really interesting that I want to show you. Remember earlier I was complaining about the whole cooling solution being mounted to the back of this board and pressing against the back of the sensor, and the only thing holding the sensor down are all those solder joints. So I do believe that might have actually been the cause of the issue of this assembly. Let me show you. Okay, this is really difficult to do. I hope you can see. Alright, here's the tiny little solder joints connecting the sensor to the PCB, and those look really nice. That's kind of what I would want to see. Nice solder blob connecting the pad to the pin. Going all the way up here. I think that, yeah, this was the good side. There are a lot of pins. Okay, all those pins look nice, and the other three sides look pretty much the same, so that's all good. But let's go to the top side of the sensor. Let's have a look here. Let's see if I can focus this time. There we go. You see it? There are cracks in pretty much every joint, solder joint. Let's go a bit further. There you can see them really, really well. There's a nice one. It could be that the solder just wasn't molten all the way through, that it was still starting to form a crystal. Well, it's not a crystal, but it actually is. When you don't melt solder properly, it becomes all mushy. Maybe that happened, but most probably from the cooling stuck pushing at the back of the sensor and a few heat cycles, then this is pretty much what you can expect to happen. Let's go away. Oh, there's big ones. There you can see how every single pin is cracked. There's a nice one. Look at that. So it would kind of make sense that some people on the internet say they reflowed the board and it started working again. So yeah, there you go. And before you get too excited, yes, I will try to solder every single pin. I won't put it into an oven because the sensor is very fragile, and if I can get away with soldering it by hand, then I might just do that. But if you lose some pins on a sensor this complex and this fragile, there is a chance that it will die. For example, when you have some pins delivering power to the chip and you lose some of those pins, so all the power has to go through one pin or less pins than designed, then there can be problems that it would get damaged internally. Or if you lose power on some pins that are important and it somehow backfeeds inside in the circuitry and overloads something and kills it. So if I resolder this, there is a chance that it might work again, but there's a good chance that this failure actually caused more damage down the line. So we'll see. Alright, so you'll have to watch from the side since I actually need the microscope to see what the hell I'm doing. Yeah, I'm going to use this ridiculously thin solder wire and my trusty JVC soldering iron. This is the T210 holder if anyone's interested, and the tip is the I have a spare one here. It's the number 19. Those are amazing. They are super fine. They are perfect for something like this. Anyway, let's go. Okay, I'm actually struggling a little bit with those pins since the sensor, the whole frame of the sensor is some nice ceramic which conducts heat very, very nicely. So I'm having a bit trouble melting the solder with my tiny tip. So I really have to hold the iron on there for very long for it to properly melt, so it can melt together with the pad. But at the same time, I don't really want to put too much heat into the sensor, like just on single spots, so that I don't cause any tension inside the ceramic thing. Alright, we are done. Soldered everything once around. Oh, that was not fun, to be honest. Let's see if I missed anyone. Nope. Okay, cool. Alright, first thing is to put the sensor back together. So I actually wanted to solder those pins while this was screwed to the heatsink, just to have some pressure at the back of the sensor, so when I solder all those tiny little pins that it would move into place to just to alleviate all the stresses a little bit. But unfortunately that didn't really work. So if I put the sensor on here and just press down, there's actually not really any gap between the between the heatsink studs and the PCB. So I do wonder where those stresses came from. Maybe just lots of thermal paste and they just squished it down. So if I put a piece of paper and just press down the sensor. Oops, short. It's actually reasonably tight in there. I mean that it's, I mean, kind of. They definitely engineered it to be perfectly spaced, so that when they screw it down, everything would just sit where it's supposed to. I guess they just didn't take tolerances into account, that sometimes the thermal paste is a bit thicker or the pelty element is a bit thicker, so that on some models the sensor breaks and on some it doesn't. So I'm not really sure how to do this properly, that this problem won't happen again, even though there's a lot of solder on there now, so it shouldn't come back out. But still, I just don't like the idea that there's any tension on those little pins. I mean, there's, if I press down this side and then I can see this one lifts up just a little bit. Yeah, there's definitely some pressure on the back of the sensor when I screw this down, and I really don't want this to happen again. Well, if the sensor survived, which I doubt, but might as well assume that it works and try to find something that this problem doesn't happen again. So yeah, let me think of something. Okay, so I decided to put this tiny little piece of tape over two of those standoff things. So it's just a really thin polyamide tape, just to lift one side of the sensor a little bit. So I notice when I put this on here, the whole thing rocks back and forward just a little bit, since the back of the sensor, the pelty element, isn't quite even. So when this is clamped down, all this pressure will go in the back of the sensor. But I also didn't want to lift it too far, because the thinner the thermal paste layer, the better, since the thermal conductivity of thermal paste is terrible compared to any metal or something. It's just used to close tiny little gaps. So I thought compromise would just be on two sides. And I put a little drop of thermal paste here and pushed it down, and it spread it quite nicely. So I think we should be okay. So it's not quite the correct order of doing this, but I'll put the heatsink on first. Just plug the pelty element back in. There you go. And I'll use some good thermal paste. Maybe that makes up for the lack of pressure. We'll see. I hope it doesn't overheat. Oh, that's old thermal paste. I have to just mix a little bit. And that is way too much. Oh dear. Okay. Seems like those two sides have a much larger gap than those two. Oh dear, this whole thing is so uneven. Okay, but thermal paste is still nice and squishy, so I think it actually should be okay. Maybe it was just bad soldering, and the thermal paste that they used is really thick, and that's what caused the pressure on the back of the sensor board. Yeah, you know what? I think this should be fine. Let's just do it like that. There's a lot of thermal paste down there, so I think the sensor should be nice and happy. If it survived, we don't know. Anyway. Alright. In which order did this thing go together? I think now we had this guy. The shims that have to go back in somehow. Alright. I hope I don't have to watch the video to see how all those things go on. Oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. I do wonder if now that the sensor is a bit higher from having it cracked and move up on one side and me soldering it back down into that position, would have changed how many shims are needed. So these are marked as 0.12, so we'll see. If it works, we don't know. I'll just have to put my lens to infinity focus and see if it actually focuses properly at infinity. And then we'll know. Okay, I have to put this back, but it actually might be a better idea to put it onto this lip. Maybe not push it down all the way, so when I put the sensor back on, the sticky adhesive just sticks back down onto this. Because if I do it the other way, it might be a pain to get it aligned into the groove, or maybe not. You know what? Maybe if I align it perfectly to the glue marks, then it should be alright. Yeah, let's see if that works. Time to remove my little protective thing. And most probably the sensor will have dust on it after this, but oh well. Okay, there's dust on the ND filter. Oh dear. Don't think I can get this from that side. Actually curious if I can get it off. No, that worked. You see somebody tried to clean this with some wet wipe, so there's like horrible streaks on here. That is gross. So you can see it from this side. I don't know. Oh well, we'll clean that. That is if the sensor survived. So manage your expectations. Okay. Yeah, good enough. it's this rubber gasket that is fighting me at the moment. Come on. Yeah, feels alright. Oh no, this side is not alright. There we go. This pin goes here, this pin goes here. Now I have to work the stupid rubber gasket back down. Oh, come on, please. All right, there we go. Okay. Okay, now there's much less play. Perfect. I think I'll just leave it at that. Screw it down, hope for the best. I did put a lot of solder onto those joints, so I think it should be fine. But if they assembled it like this in the factory where the heatsink goes on at the back after everything and the pressure from the screws is spreading the thermal paste, then oh dear, poor sensor. That is a lot of pressure to handle for solder joints, especially as you saw on the pictures under the microscope how little solder some of those pins actually have. So GoPro overheated once again, and I'm starting to get really annoyed at it. So I hope it won't die halfway through this. I'll check every once in a while if it's still recording. But yeah, anyway, time to put this camera back together. And I'll try to remember which order I did things. Otherwise I have to rewatch the videos I made. But we will see. Anyway. Let's do that. Okay. Ah, shit. Ah, okay, before I put everything back together, let's see what happens if we power it on. If all that work actually paid off. I need to plug in the screen. That actually might be a good idea. I think so. Oh my god. That is just too funny. Wow. Okay. I mean, let's go. Oh. Well. Yeah. So, nice. I'm happy. One thing that doesn't work is the ND filter. I think I forgot something. Oh wow, but I did not expect that. I really did not. I thought this is the ND filter thing. You know what, let me just look at the footage before I take stuff apart again and let my GoPro cool down again. Okay, I checked, there's no extra cable. I guess the ND filters go over this flex cable as well as the lens contacts. So I'm not sure why it didn't change when I turned the little knob. So maybe it was just not seated properly, I hope. Anyway, I also charged my GoPro a little bit, and every single time I charge this stupid thing, it crashes. And I have to pull the battery out for it to reset. This thing is really starting to piss me off. I have which ones? So this is the Hero 10. I also have the Hero 5 Session, the tiny one, which works much better, but obviously worse quality. And well, I've like using the app with the Wi-Fi thing to see like a live view thing while I record stuff. But unfortunately, it goes over Wi-Fi and drains the batteries in like 15 minutes. So that's no use. It's, yeah, super annoying. Anyway, let's put this flex back in here. Close it and hope it works. There we go. This flex looks a bit, although, I don't know. Pretty sure it was here. Anyway. Next, let's see. I think next would be the SDI cable stuff that goes into this thing. Let's just get this to the side. Okay, let's do it. Okay, so 4 hex screws that go here. Okay, I got it, I think. Then let's see. Oh, I've nearly forgot something. Where is it? There we go. Did it click? Yes, it did. Okay, this one. That is correct. This one goes in here. Nice. Of course. Okay, the GoPro died again, and when I charged it, it crashed and I had to take the battery out. this thing has been a pain. I'm definitely not buying GoPro stuff anymore, because this camera nearly drove me crazy. The GoPro, not this one. This one nearly drove me crazy too, but still. We only have a few more screws left, and then we can actually completely test it. So I know this video has been stupidly long, but I thought I might just film everything. Some people actually enjoy watching that, I hope. I mean, it's YouTube, you can just skip to the end and see what happened, so don't get mad at me, please. Anyway, what else? This one, there's a back screw missing. Okay. I'm getting very hungry, so I'm looking forward to having this camera work. This took forever. I understand why Blackmagic doesn't want to service those. I mean, to be fair, the design of this thing is really nice. There wasn't a single plastic clip or anything weird that was painful to take apart. Everything was nice star screws with blue Loctite. I mean, you can't ask for anything more. It's beautifully designed. The flex cables go everywhere and really nicely. It was fun to take apart, even if it took a while. So it is serviceable. I mean, you can take it apart and put it back together with no problems, without any parts breaking. And it's just such a shame about the sensor being pushed forward and breaking off, because everything is so nicely engineered, but that detail must have been overlooked, and that's what just kills those cameras. And it's sad. I do hope Blackmagic knows about this and fixed it on all the newer models, so they don't die like that again. It always bothers me if you have something really expensive and nicely engineered and everything breaks from one solder connection and the whole thing just ends up in the trash can. Even though everything still works except for one tiny detail that just kills everything. So having a working sensor just being thrown away, it just pains me. So I'm really happy that this thing seems to work again. Yeah, so 3 things are going to happen with this thing. Either it's going to work forever and be awesome, or the sensor will break off again from the pressure of the heating that cooling stack. So I could solder it again. Or third, because I put a little gap between the screws on the heatsink, there isn't enough pressure on the back of the sensor to really cool it, and it will overheat. So I expect one of those 3 things to happen. I'll test it for a while. I actually don't know what to do with it, but I don't want to sell it because it's kind of cool, and I can't guarantee that what I did would last forever, so I don't want to scam anyone. Anyway, enough talking. Let's plug it in and see if it works. I got a nice lens. That's the Sigma 18 to 35 1.8. I'm actually more of this low element count lens person, but this is one of the exceptions. This is actually a really nice lens. Usually I'd use something. Usually I'd use something like this, the Nikon 35 f2 with a Canon adapter. That's what I'd probably use on this. Anyway, let's plug it in and see what happens. Nearly forgot this. Are those magnets? Oh, that's pretty cool. That's why the ND filter thing on the display didn't work. I think those are two little magnets. Inside here, it seems like it's just two Hall sensors, or magnetic sensors. Let me see if I can show you. Right there. I hope you can see that. So I hope it works when I put this thing on. It's like this. Anyway, please still work. Okay. Nice, it still works. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay, now the ND filter thing works. So it's just little magnets on the knob that would just trigger those sensors. Okay. Nice. It detects the f-stop. If I change that, oh yeah, nice. Changes on the lens too. That's good. That works. Okay, even detects the lens. Nice. Okay, I mean, it seems like the whole thing works. Let's put an SD card in. Hope those are hot swappable. Okay, format. Yeah, format SD. Okay. Time remaining 4 minutes. Yeah, it's only a 16 gig card. So let's see if it actually records. Nice. It's a slow card, so probably it's dropping frames like crazy. Yep. I did not like that. Let's go in the menu and change this to auto compression. Yep. Says there you go. Okay, I'll have to look that up. Maybe that's just a way too slow SD card. But yeah, I think we fixed it. Nice. Well, thanks for watching this really long video. I hope it was interesting. If you do have one of those Ursa Mini Pros with this problem, don't throw them away. Maybe you find someone with a tiny soldering iron and lots of time, and they can be fixed. Otherwise, send them to me. I'll take them all. Thank you very much. Bye.